Good morning, Grade 1 teachers, and welcome to the 2019-2020 school year. My name is Melissa Trimble, and I am a Curriculum and Instruction Specialist for the Davenport Schools, overseeing the areas of Science and Social Studies. I'm here today to give you a very brief overview of the changes we can expect to see in Science and Social Studies for the upcoming school year. I'd like to start off by assuring everybody that the reporting standards for Science and Social Studies are the exact same as they were last year. We did make some adjustments to the pacing guide, so when we focus on each standard has changed for our school year. And there are going to be some new components to science that we'll discuss in a few moments. But with regard to content, your lives will be the same this year as it was for the past few years with regards to Science and Social Studies. You'll notice on your daily schedules this year that instead of just referring to the time frame for Science and Social Studies, it's now going to be called Science, Social Studies, and Connections. We are hopeful that this Connections time frame is designated in a way so that you can get all of those extra things done that we ask you to complete on a day-to-day and yearly basis. There's some guidance on the Connections time frame in the format of a must-do and can-do list that I'll show you in just a few moments. We are recommending that Connections is scheduled once a week for every teacher, and if I might suggest, it would be best if you and your grade level colleagues would get together and each pick a different day of the week that you would do Connections on. The logic behind this is so if the counselor would need to push in and do a lesson with your class, they could very easily then take care of the whole grade level within a week's time frame rather than have to stop back multiple times through multiple weeks to get the task accomplished. So what we've done with this Science, Social Studies, and Connections time frame for you on your pacing guide is divided it into 2 semesters. Semester 1 is going to start off with what we're calling Session 1, and that encompasses days 1 through 10. We're giving you this time to simply focus on procedures. I know that a lot of the time in the first couple days at school is focused on procedures, but I want you to not have to stress about getting any science or social studies lessons done during this time frame. Take the time you need to get those students ready to go with all of the procedures for the building and for your classroom. What we would ask you to do is do some Connections lessons during this time. Session 2 then will run from days 11 through 30, so almost but not quite all the way through quarter 1, and during that time frame the focus will be on social studies. In the past we've always taken the standards for social studies that have aligned very well with the idea of procedures and getting started up for the school year, and that has not changed this year. That is still what we will start off with during this time frame for social studies. Then on day 31, we'll start Session 3, and this will run up to and including the end of quarter 1, as well as take up a good portion of quarter 2, and that time frame will be dedicated to science. During this science time, we will do the waves unit, as well as the sun, moon, stars, patterns unit, both in this same chunk of time. Session 4 then will end the second quarter, and we will return back to focus on one additional social studies standard. We only added a single social studies standard during this session so that there's a little bit of flexibility that if you don't get done with all of the science in Session 3, there might be some time during Session 4, before or after you cover that single social studies standard, that you would be able to finish things up and have all the content from Semester 1 done by the end of that semester time frame. Once we get to Semester 2 of the school year, we're going to return back to science for the first 30 days, which will be our Session 5. During this time frame, you'll be engaging with the Project Lead the Way Science Launch module on animal adaptations. This will take the place of our biomimicry and parent-child lessons that we have done in the past. Now, these lessons are still going to remain valid if you have extra time, or if you have a student that needs one more chance to show proficiency on this reported standard. But the only reporting standard that we're going to have, you'll see this on the pacing guide, is going to be that standard on biomimicry, because that's what our Project Lead the Way Science Launch module focuses on. And then to close out the year, we're going to blend sessions 6 and 7 together, and it's kind of a dual purpose during this time frame. We're going to have to finish up our social studies standards, but it's also going to be the time for that Project Lead the Way computer science launch module to get done. Remember that this Project Lead the Way computer science launch module is where the teacher librarian pushes in to your classroom to do these lessons with your students. Blending these final 2 sessions of the school year together was very purposeful because some of our buildings have very high numbers of sections of grade 1. And we wanted to give that teacher librarian ample time to be able to push into all of the classes to get this computer science launch module completed. Please be aware that this does mean that one of the grade 1 classes in your building will start session 6 and 7 with computer science launch, while the other sections of grade 1 will probably start on social studies. And then things will switch. So it's going to be a little disjointed as we get that computer science launch module completed. Just know that in the off times of computer science launch, that's when you would be working on that social studies material. I want to briefly talk about how to find all the links for everything, and I'm going to take you first to the SBAR site. And when you're on the SBAR site, if you click on elementary, and then you click on grade 1, and then you click on science or social studies, and then once you get to that point of the page, click on either of those scope and sequence links, you will be taken to this particular file. Once you get to this file, you'll see that there is a link for a grade 1 connections, a grade 1 science, and a grade 1 social studies, but in all honesty, you can click on any of them. They take you to the exact same place. So you'll notice that if I hover here, a little blue link appears right above it. And when you click on that, it will jump you to the correct page, which is your scope and sequence for science, social studies, and connections, all in a one-stop shop. You'll notice that it is divided up in semester 1 and 2, like I discussed, as well as by sessions within those semesters. Session 1 being procedures, and down here in the blue box and in subsequent blue boxes is the link to that must-do and can-do master list. I'll click on that in just a moment. Notice in session 2, social studies, we're going to do the economics and geography standards, and then in science, there's your priority standards that are bolded. Those will be the ones that appear on the report card. The other supporting standards are also listed here. And that's also same down in semester 2, where you have science, bolded ones will appear on the report card, and then back over here to your social studies. Notice that I also gave you some guidance on when the standards will appear on the report card. So for social studies in semester 1, you'll have economics, geography, and the political science standards that will appear for quarters 1 and 2. And the additional history and behavior science standards for social studies will appear on quarters 3 and 4. So by the end of the year, you have all of the social studies standards listed on the report card. For science, it's a little different. We're going to list these 3 standards on quarters 1 and 2, and then we're going to switch and list this standard on quarters 3 and 4. One final note that I will make about this page is that the wording that you see for the standards that is printed on this page will be the exact same as the wording you'll see on the grade level report card. Now if I go down here to our blue box, and again if I hover over it, you'll notice the blue link pops up, and when I click on that, it will take you to that master list of must-dos and can-dos for connections. The must-dos, you'll notice, are ordered. You start with computer science launch, that is scheduled in your scope and sequence for sessions 6 and 7. Digital citizenship lessons. Instead of a typing program, read a little further. You'll notice it's the handwriting program for first grade. And then you're going to have some financial literacy lessons, health and nutrition lessons, and then maybe a day where you'd have to prep for a grade level study trip if you need to, and some counseling lessons that'll be push in as well. I know these items are numbered over here, but they're basically numbered in order of importance of completion, not necessarily that you should do computer science launch first and then digital citizenship and then your handwriting program, etc. Now, once you have secured that you're on track with your must-dos for the year, that's when you can come over here to this can-do side and decide on what you want to work on with your students. This list is not exhaustive, but if you have an idea that's not currently listed on this little sheet, I would maybe have a conversation with your principal, show that you're on track with your must-dos, and then see if that can-do would be an option for that connections time frame. You'll notice we have a back to homepage link down at the bottom. If you hover over that, you just have to go all the way over here to find the little link, and it takes you right back to that table of contents page. If you would ever want to just go to the connections must-do, can-do list, you can get to that piece right here with that quick link right on that side. As we wrap up today, I just want to have a few moments to tackle some odds and ends. First of all, I want to assure you that your Project Lead the Way training has been scheduled and will take place on the October in-service day. It'll be a full day of learning for you, but at the end of that day, you will be ready to engage with that Session 5 Project Lead the Way launch module with your students. On the social studies sides of things, we're going to again have TCI available to you this year as a resource. Be on the lookout for an email from me for that login and password information coming to you as soon as I can get my hands on them. And as I mentioned when we were back on the scope and sequence slide, the report card language will mirror that of what is printed on that file, and the standards will appear on the report card as designated on that file, like I explained. A gentle reminder that we do have a one-stop shop for all things Great Minds study trips. That is the tiny URL that you can access, and we will be in touch with more timely emails as those events come to pass for your grade level. And whereas I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with social studies over the past 2 years, that component of my oversight is being handed off to my colleague Michelle Harvey, who will now be the K-12 specialist for social studies. I'll be working closely with Michelle to transition her over during the first part of this year, and just know that I will remain your point of contact for all things science. If you have any questions about what I've discussed today, or you need clarification on anything, I have created a Padlet to have all of these questions posted on. This link that you see here is also available on the main presentation for the day, as well as you could type in the tiny URL that you see on the screen right now, and either way it will get you to access that Padlet. If you're new to Padlet, no worries. Once you click on that link, I've provided instruction on how to use the Padlet to post a question right on the Padlet. I will respond to all the questions as soon as I can, and then I will provide everybody with information of how you can access all of the answers. I wish you all a wonderful school year ahead, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you need support or have questions with regards to science or social studies. Have a great rest of your day.